It's so funny that they hadn't really figured out like the timing yet of like, oh, you probably want to put that at the big action sequence or like when he walks away, like a G after the big action sequence. So like half the time it just plays like after he orders something from a waiter.
Yeah, he's just walking to the phone booth and it's like going off.
Anyways, welcome. This is a boys' night episode.
Boys' night.
This is a heated rivalry episode. We're topping from the bottom.
Topping from the bottom.
Yeah, that comes into play specifically in the later 50 Shades books, where it turns out the girl becomes the dom or whatever, and like Christian Grey's like, you're topping from the bottom.
Does that actually happen?
Yeah, she goes from being like really timid. I watched like a 4.5 hour video essay on the 50 Shades movies, and like specifically contrasting them to the books. Fascinating watch, by the way, because the 50 Shades author is insane, and
I've heard about that. Yeah. I might want to watch that.
The movie, like the first movie, was made by these this team that like kind of knew ball. And they were like, they kind of pushed back against her, and she got them fired and replaced with like her husband, who was like a TV writer and like a director that they were friends with. So like the first movie attempts to like kind of criticize the books a little bit, and then the second film and the third film just like lean completely into slavish devotion to the rest of the films. Or the rest of the source material.
Many such cases.
Yeah, many such cases.
You're fired. I want a sycophant.
Exactly. The classic kind of format that we see on a lot of these movies, but not this case. In this case, we have a series that we've been wanting to do for a while. I think you were the one who pitched us on this, right?
Yeah, just as an exercise in my own curiosity. So, welcome to Marvelous Death of Cinema. I'm Discourse Stu. We're talking about the first James Bond movie, Dr. No, based on the 6th book. I didn't have a lot of time to do research. This was a impromptu improvisation. But if we keep doing these, I'm going to go back and dive deeper. And you're Cole.
And I'm Cole. And this is actually technically not even the first James Bond movie. Because there's a TV film.
The first in the franchise as we know it.
Yes. But yeah, there's a TV film adaptation of Casino Royale that I kind of want to check out, like on my own time, just because I've seen the obviously the Daniel Craig one so many times, but like the Daniel Craig Bond films are like, they feel very removed from the source material.
They're very like, it's the 2000s. We're going to make everything more serious and realistic, sort of.
I don't mind that.
And sort of try and be... So there's nothing inherently wrong with that. But yeah, Daniel Craig was very much like, It's
funny that Daniel Craig now is like you could practically like just gay actor Daniel Craig.
Kind of, yeah. It seems like it.
Like he just plays gay guys in movies. I don't know if he's like Hugh Jackman, where he's just super closeted, or what, but he plays a great gay guy in movies.
Yeah, some guys just know how to be flamboyant.
That's true. Did you see Queer?
No, I haven't. No,
that's a good one. But yeah, what's your kind of background with the larger kind of James Bond franchise here? Do you have I assume you've seen at least the Craig ones, and probably the 90s ones as well.
Yeah, so I think at some point my sense is James Bond movies became kind of sort of for kids, like some series and franchises are like they become kind of sort of for kids, like that's part of the audience, if not the whole one. And I think that might have been mainly in the 70s. I feel like if you talk to an older Gen X person, it's like Roger Moore, James Bond movies were a big part of their childhood. And for me, it was Pierce Brosnan, right? Like, because he didn't. There were kind of no James Bond movies for a few years between, I don't know, when Timothy Dalton's did like 2 movies in the 80s, and then there was nothing until Goldeneye. And so he was my James Bond. I haven't actually seen any other than From Russia with Love and then now Dr. No. I've never seen any pre-Pierce Brosnan James Bond movies other than like clips and bits and pieces. No, again, I want to do the series because I've always been kind of curious, but I was just never gonna. Just needed like a push to like give me a reason to sit down and watch them all. But no, I haven't. Not that I remember. Like I said, bits and pieces, here and there. But I've never like seen all of Thunderball or Octopussy or what have you, except From Russia with Love. So it was Pierce Brosnan. It was Goldeneye, and I haven't seen World Is Not Enough or Tomorrow Never Dies since they came out on video, since I was a kid. And then, the Daniel Craig ones, I liked Casino Royale, but I haven't seen it in a long time. I didn't like Quantum of Solace. I thought Quantum of Solace was boring, and I thought the action was too dependent on shaky cam bullshit. There's a way to do that, and there's a way not to, and I thought that movie, I just hated the way it looked and didn't find it engaging. And I remember I saw Skyfall in the theater. I remember liking that one okay, although I don't know how I'd feel about it now as like a great big legacy sequel, kind of a proto-legacy sequel thing. Even at the time, I thought it was maybe a little too self-aware and winking and nodding and metatextual.
That one's a strange one because for a while, it almost felt like they were going to do a Doctor Who thing with James Bond, except like they were going to make the fact that there's multiple James Bonds kind of a in-universe thing, which I kind of don't hate the idea of.
Yeah, the classic, like, explaining why there's different actors playing this guy for 60 years is that it's a code name that goes along with the number.
Yeah, it's an identity.
I see the logic in it, but it's also like...
You need a freak to do that.
You can just not have a canon.
Yeah.
James Bond doesn't really need a canon. I
agree. I think if you did that, you'd have to do like Grant Morrison's James Bond or something like that, where it's like that. It's tying. It's like, oh, it turns out James Bond is actually like an eternal recurrence kind of thing. Like it's like there always must be a James Bond.
Yeah, which honestly, that if you're going to do a meta James Bond like thing, that might not be the worst way to do it. But I mean, I don't know what they're going to do with James Bond. I never saw. Oh God, right. Daniel Craig. What was the one after Skyfall with
Spectre.
Yeah, I barely remember that one. I was not terribly impressed with it.
That one's pretty bad. I don't blame you.
And then I think there was one more that I just didn't bother to watch.
No Time to Die, which I still have not seen here. And yeah, if you guys can't tell, I think I'm the resident James Bond expert on the podcast. I've seen almost all of the James Bond films. I think the only ones that I haven't seen are the last Connery one, You Only Live Twice, the unofficial Connery one, Never.
Was it Never Say Never?
Never Say Never Again, or something like that. And then I haven't seen Octopussy, and I haven't seen the last Craig one. But outside of that, I think I've seen every single James Bond film. My grandma's a huge James Bond fan. She, like, whenever she would babysit for us, she'd just put on a VHS of like Thunderball or something like that. I've probably seen From Russia with Love like 15 times.
Wow. Okay, I didn't know this.
Yeah, I love I've even like dabbled in some of the James Bond comics that they put out. Like I've read the Warren Ellis run, which was like pretty good, I think, all things considered, which that came out in the 2010s as kind of like a way to do like a little bit more of like a sci-fi extravagant James Bond. I mean, fuck, I've even read like, do you know Alex Rider? The Alex Rider books?
Oh, kind of. I've heard of them. I don't know anything about them.
They're probably most well known to our audience over the age of 15 as being those weird YA books that Araki, the JoJo artist, did covers for the international versions. But yeah, It's like a YA James Bond book that is like, what if there's a kid that had to be James Bond or whatever? Which I guess is also the premise for James Bond Jr., which was a Marvel Comics series.
That's hilarious. What an idea.
Yeah. But yeah, I've still never played GoldenEye in spite of all that. I've never Never played GoldenEye. Actually, I take that back. I've played GoldenEye for the Wii once at my friend Sam's house.
That makes you unique for anybody like under the age of 35. Because I think the game goal is like, if you're a millennial, the game GoldenEye was like mostly like way more culturally significant than the movie, I think.
It was always one of those games that like I just knew about through like Final Fantasy VII or like Oblivion or something, where I just knew about it through like osmosis and like the Guinness Gaming Book of World Records or whatever as being like an important video game.
The truth is GoldenEye doesn't really hold up outside just like the nostalgia or the historical curiosity. But at the time, it was like they didn't put a lot of first-person shooters on consoles.
Yeah. Especially on Nintendo consoles.
Yeah, it was. I mean, actually, N64, maybe because of GoldenEye's success, might have been more of the first-person shooter platform than the PlayStation, because it had like the stick and the Z button that was sort of like a trigger.
That makes sense.
So it had like Turok and Perfect Dark.
Turok based on the Valiant property.
Yeah, it's vaguely. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a whole story in its own. But the PlayStation 1 had first-person games, but the first-person, it had like a port of Doom and some other things, but like it wasn't a big genre on PS1.
That makes sense.
There were games that were in first-person, but they weren't really shooters per se.
I remember like growing up, like most of the people that I knew that played video games, like that were like 5 to 10 years older than me, like that weren't as much into FPS games other than like Halo. Like it didn't feel like FPS became the default genre of video games until like I was in elementary school and everyone was like, dude, you got to play Black Ops or you're gay.
Yeah. Well, that was part of it was the hardware. PCs, once 3D accelerator cards became a thing, PCs had the edge there. And from Doom until like Half-Life started this shift. Oh no, PlayStation 1 did have Medal of Honor. That was a pretty big game. But it was just like part of it was the controllers, like the two analog, like the PS1 had the DualShock controller, but that came late and it wasn't stock. Not everybody had one. So it was only with the PS2 360 era or Xbox GameCube era that you had like the two sticks and people started to figure out how to do first-person controls that for an action game that didn't rely on like auto aim and sort of rotating in place like a tank that let you strafe and stuff like on a PC, where they figured that out on PCs quicker with WASD in the mouse and sort of strafe and aim look. So that was like, it was on PS2, you started to see like more and more like Time Splitters and like more and more first-person games are getting popular, even if by now they still feel a little weird. Mm-hmm. In retrospect. And then, Halo and Halo 2 were huge. And Halo, like the thing about GoldenEye, like the reason GoldenEye was important, in part because it was novel as a first-person game on consoles when there weren't that many of them, a fully 3D one, and mostly because it was a game you sat down with your buddies and played split-screen deathmatch.
Yeah,
like that was an experience you had to have a computer and a LAN or internet to do.
And I mean, fuck, even I know about Oddjob.
Yeah.
The dastardly Chinese guy who ruined LAN parties for people.
Yeah, no, that's what made GoldenEye a cultural staple for the millennial generation, maybe really young Gen X guys who were in college, was the deathmatch. The split screen deathmatch and fucking around in it. And Halo completely replaced GoldenEye. Halo filled that niche because the original Xbox had 4 controller spots and a built-in LAN, and then Halo 2 was online. So Halo filled the niche that used to belong to GoldenEye and expanded it. And then we go and you get into the 7th gen and the games with budgets just kind of settled into like we have like 5 types of game, and it's like Resident Evil 4, Half-Life 2, Grand Theft Auto, or I don't know. Well, then those just kind of became just like Far Cry or Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
But anyway, the long story short, like GoldenEye was huge, and I think made because of that specific role it filled, because it was kind of the only game like that, or Perfect Dark later, that a lot of people had that you could play that way for years, just has way more cultural cachet than just this movie I'm kind of fond of, haven't seen in a long time. That's like probably like a 7 out of 10 action adventure movie from 1995.
And now our middling action movie from 1962 that is it's barely an action movie, actually. If I can segue us fully into Dr. No here, something I kind of love about the early 60s James Bond films is how much they feel like hangout films.
Yeah, well, they're more in line with, I mean, the action movie didn't really exist.
Yeah.
Like, you had moments in movies that were meant to be exciting or eventful. You'd have, like, I don't know, a big stunt or something. But yeah, action movies kind of, I don't know exactly where I'd put it, but they only start seeming like to come into being towards the end of the 60s as sort of like adventure and spy movies start upping the ante on each other. And you get like that little run of car chase movies. And then kind of through the 70s, adventure movies and thrillers start to converge on what in the 80s becomes kind of the action movie as we know it. But yeah, no, this, and the James Bond movies just kind of followed cultural trends. But yeah, no, it's a spy movie. So there's a lot of just like, you know, solving mysteries and interrogating guys, and just here and there's a little car chase or somebody gets shot or a little fist fight. You know, it's closer to a mystery detective movie than anything else.
Absolutely, yeah. These they feel like almost like travelogues for the character of James Bond, where we spend as much time as possible feeling the location, and the lavishness that of life that he's immersed himself in, as we do, like, you know, finding out the bad guy's plan, or like you know, figuring out how we're gonna stop him or whatever. It's a very interesting way to set a picture that I really honestly I really enjoyed. I watched this at like 3 p.m. on a weekend, and I was like, damn, this is kind of cozy. Like, I just had a little big breakfast, so I was had that little food high going, and really just kind of enjoyed.
Yeah, it's a Sunday afternoon ass movie.
Yeah, which is funny because I think like all of the later Bond tropes that we see here, or all the later Bond tropes that we associate with the character, are like done here. And granted, that was obviously due to it being an adaptation and having the fact that there was like the majority of the James Bond books had already been published by the time this movie came out. So they could do shit like introduce Spectre, which shows up in this movie, which I completely forgot because that's like the James Bond like op.
Yeah, I thought it was funny because I never knew that Spectre wasn't, or like I never knew what it stood for. I just had seen it referenced in things. Because by like the Pierce Brosnan movies didn't really do a lot of lore or canon. They just invented new bad guys. But like I do like, you know, you just absorb through spoof and reference so much stuff. And then it's like, what does it stand for? Dr. No tells them, it's like, I'm from Spectre, the special executive for counterintelligence, terrorism, revenge, and extortion.
Yeah, it's such a deviously mustache twirling thing where he's like, it stands for all of the things that like all of the best crimes to do, and it's like terrorism, revenge, extortion. It's honestly
the bad guy society for murder and mayhem.
It's delightful when he starts talking about it because it's like this like weird libertarian ethos of like gentlemen to evil, you know, like the Simpsons gag.
I'm beyond East versus West. I'm too smart for that.
Yeah.
Actually, you mentioned something about it being a travelogue. The story for Dr. No was first cooked up by Ian Fleming in partnership with another guy as a non-James Bond outline for a TV show that was intended to promote tourism to Jamaica, which was a British colony at the time in the mid-50s and in the 60s when the movie was made still.
It looks like, I mean, fuck colonialism, but like it looks gorgeous. I love the like tiki pop, I believe is the term for this kind of look of like just like everything's beach, baby. Everything is beach as far as you can see.
It is, yeah. It's a lot of this movie is just ogling the scenery. Oh, Jamaica became independent like right around when this movie came out. That's interesting.
That is funny.
But yeah, it is, and I feel like that's what's interesting about movies like this, from like popular movies from older eras, is you get the sense audiences went to movies for different things or with different expectations, where it's like, you know, just hanging out in beautiful scenery with a cool guy and some beautiful women was enough for a movie.
I wish it was still enough for a movie. I love the. Actually, I to kind of tease out a future episode. I started watching From Russia with Love, and it's the same thing where it's just like we're gonna watch James Bond hang out in Eastern Europe, and yeah, I kind of wish that there were still movies like this where you just hung out with a guy.
Me too. I feel like there's something to be said for the benefits of like contrast. I've talked before with like MCU movies where they feel like they've got all the bits people like blended into this sort of slurry of action and quips and exposition. And like, I don't know, I kind of like, like you look at, like, think about like Aliens even.
Yeah.
In terms of pure like action or scares or whatever, technically nothing happens in Aliens for like 40 minutes.
Yeah, you get to learn, like it has that same approach where you're exploring location, in this case like a spaceship and a derelict planet. But yeah, like it's really fun. It makes like the kind of one note characters that are in this script kind of stand out more. Everyone is kind of playing second fiddle to James Bond, who has to be the most coolest guy, interestingest guy in the room. But like, even from like moment one, where this film opens with one of the funniest dual assassinations of all time, where three Jamaican assassins who dress as blind men and walk around listening to or playing Three Blind Mice.
Yeah, it's the music. Yeah, the Three Blind Mice song is playing, and I think, are they whistling it, or am I misremembering?
I think that they're whistling it as well. I think that they're whistling it, and they just do this gag to like get close to people and then shoot them in the head with silenced pistols and then walk away. And it's like, well, no one would ever suspect a blind guy to do this.
Three blind guys walking hand in hand in a row. And they kill a guy. They try to kill James Bond, but can't get a clean shot, and then they just disappear from the movie.
Yeah, it's just a
like there's no boss fight with them or anything.
Yeah, it's just a tool in Dr. No's arsenal that he happens to use to assassinate like another agent who's investigating, these rocket failures that have happened over the Jamaican skies. Weirdly international film as well, where it's the British Secret Service helping the Americans deal with a Chinese guy in Jamaica, but also the Chinese guy, you would think like he'd be a sinister Chinese guy on behalf of the Western government, but as we said earlier, no, he's with Spectre, so he's just kind of doing it to just fuck with people. Like, it's like, I guess he wants to take over the world by fucking up the moon landing.
It's kind of unclear what the long-term game plan is for that.
It really doesn't make any sense when you stop and think about it for even 5 seconds, but I love it. I love that he's just like, I'm gonna take pot shots at American rockets from off the coast of Jamaica.
Well, that's why it's like guys, like, you see, back in the day, it just had guys who were just kind of like evil for the sake of evil, like without any level of irony or comedy to it, for some reason.
Yeah, and he's like passionate about his evil too. Like he's really proud of this like underground nuclear silo that he's built to power the radio blast that fucks up the rocket.
Well, when he gives his villain speech to capture James Bond, he's just like, I'm telling you this because you're cool. You're the only guy who's cool enough to appreciate how cool I am.
Yeah, and to be fair,
I'm hoping you'll join my team.
To be fair, it's a pretty cool secret hideout. Like, as far as villain layers go,
it's sick.
I think this might be one of the coolest villain layers we've ever seen on the podcast before.
He's got an insane 60s bachelor pad with like the very mid-century modern furniture and the aquarium and the faux grotto and
looted artifacts and an aquarium. Yeah, he's got an aquarium wall because it's underground, but it's also underwater, so you can just get a little porthole out to the aquarium. He's got like paintings of like Napoleon, I think it was.
Napoleon. Yeah.
Well,
that's a classic, especially from British writers, 100%. Where it's like Napoleon was the ultimate crazy ego guy that every bad guy reveres and wants to be.
And honestly, more power to him. He, unfortunately, Dr. No, in his pursuit of power here, has fucked up his hands. And he now has robot hands that he never actually uses to fuck with James Bond, other than like he crushes a statue.
Yeah, he shows them. He's like, I can crush a rock, but then he never crushes them with his. And then they're just under black gloves. Like there's not like a cool prop.
Yeah.
They're chopped off because he stole all the money from the Tong, which I guess is maybe supposed to be like the triad.
I forgot that. Yeah, he has a backstory that plays into the fact that he gets his sushi at the 7-Eleven. He gets his sushi at the Circle K.
He's a white guy with his eyes taped.
He's a white guy with his eyes taped, but specifically he's half German, half Chinese.
So he gets his sauerkraut with sweet and sour sauce?
Yeah. Ooh, that would be good, actually. I feel like that would be close to like a...
That might go.
A savory kimchi or something like that. But yeah. Or like a sweet.
Actually, you could kind of work German food in with Chinese food, I think, without actually out too much trouble.
100%, yeah. Dude, egg fried rice with a little sauerkraut thrown in.
Ooh. No, we might be onto something there.
His dad was a German diplomat to China and missionary to China, and his mom was just some random Chinese woman. And so he was like picked on by all the other people for being Chinese, and he was picked on by the Chinese for being German. And he was the only not full-blooded Chinese person to ever work for the Tongs, and he just ripped them off, which is a great backstory.
That is a good backstory. Like there's potential there.
Yeah, for a character who pretty much doesn't do anything after this point.
I mean, he gets like one good villain speech, and then that's kind of it. For him. Which is too bad. I think the actor playing him, setting aside the taped up eyes, like he's got a good performance. He's got gravitas.
The misfortune of his birth. I agree. I really liked his performance. We don't condone racism, but if we had to, I think that we would condone his performance. I don't want to give him the Neil McDonough Award because there's actually a POC character that stood out to me a little bit more. But before we get to him, I want to talk about James Bond's boyfriend from America, Felix Leiter, who shows up wearing women's sunglasses for some reason, and there's just never...
I noticed that. Like with the pointed tips.
Like he's wearing like cat eye, like fucking Batman 66 Secretary Barbara Gordon ass cat eye, yeah, like winged sunglasses, and he's just like James Bond. I'm from the CIA. As you know, we're all gay over here.
I want to maybe before we keep going attempt a brief plot summary.
Oh yeah, hit us.
It's a James Bond movie. I feel like if you're listening, you can probably guess. James Bond is sent to Jamaica to investigate the deaths of an MI6 agent and his secretary. He meets a CIA agent, encounters various guys trying to kill him, some scheming, duplicitous women, and gets on the tail of Dr. No, who runs a guano mine off the coast. And it turns out he's using radio waves or something to knock down American rocket flights from Cape Canaveral.
For reasons.
And ultimately, Bond finds a way to his island lair, meets a beautiful Swiss model who just walks out of the ocean for no reason, gets captured, foils the bad guy's plan, escapes. They have sex in a boat. James Bond movie.
I've never had sex in a boat. Do you think that would hurt?
No?
I feel like that's not conducive to, like, sex. like a rowboat.
Well, no, yeah, like, it's like those kind of aluminum boats would be a little awkward. So it's gonna be tipping on you, or it's gonna be worried about knocking it over. I feel like you can do like some heavy petting, but like I don't think you can like fuck.
Yeah, you're doing hand stuff and calling it a day there. And even then, I would be like, oh, we're rocking the boat a little bit too much. But he fucks a lot of women in this movie, and it's kind of crazy because it every time it happens, it's like a and I'm assuming this is a chicken and the egg situation here, or a cart before the horse situation here, but it feels like a Bang Bros plot where he just like goes up to a woman and is like, ah, yes, it's me, James Bond, and then he'll like hit him with a pun.
I mean,
or like some kind of wordplay, and then she'll just be like, let's fuck.
It's I think the idea is it's like he's like Ian Fleming, who created James Bond, was
gay,
upper class, private school educated, mommy's boy. His dad died in World War I when he was young. Fail son, who started writing after World War II. And James Bond is just like, it's like 10% things he actually was and 90% like who he wanted to be. Is my best understanding. I'll have to dive way deeper, but there's a lot of characters that are like that, right? They're some guy's fantasy of the coolest possible guy. That's a classic basis for a lot of like fictional heroes, franchise heroes.
Fu Manchu.
Well, Dr. No is Fu Manchu. That's the kind of stuff Ian Fleming
I was
reading,
making a joke that Fu Manchu is the hero of those stories.
Oh, yeah. And so he's like, yeah, he's cool under pressure. He always has a witty remark, and he's icy and charming and irresistible to women. Because he goes to like a rental car agency, and the camera just lingers on the cashier, just ogling him as he leaves. Like,
yeah, he fucks a woman who's working for Dr. No twice, and then in between fucks, she sets him up to be killed, and then it's like, well, shit, I need more dick from him though. Like, it's cartoonish. I think that is the most charitable thing, probably like the best thing it has going
it's ridiculous,
for it. Yeah, is that it's inherently ridiculous. Like, no one. It's silly. It's funny when it happens.
It is, but yeah, it's bordering on pornographic. It's a very male fantasy of like, you know, I want to be dangerous and have adventures, and everywhere I go, women are just throwing themselves at me because I'm so cool and hot. But it's passionate. It's not like, I feel like Pua guys sort of ruined womanizing because they made it like. They did to having sex what like esports guys do to video games, you know?
Yeah, there's something problematic about
it just became about like running up numbers.
Yeah.
I mean, not that like not that there isn't like the fantasy of this stuff. Yeah. I mean, is that all these encounters with women are like passionate, and there's something like love to them. There is something emotional about it. Which, you know, in real life, I mean, the movie isn't very convincing about it a lot of the time, especially in these movies. And the underlying reality of living out those fantasies was often just like director Terrence Young trying to coerce the woman who plays the photographer who appears briefly to try and get James Bond's picture for Dr. No into having the Miss Jamaica 1958. And the director like tried to coerce her into sex in a car and groped her and threatened to cut her from the movie if she didn't. And then he tried to get her out to London to have another go at her to do the dubbing, and so her voice is dubbed over by a different actress because she wouldn't go.
Good for her for not going. That sucks. Yeah.
But I just mean like it's worth contrasting like the you know, because I'm going to make a bit of a defense for juvenile fantasy, I guess. But it's like,
the defense
worth criticizing because underneath it is, you know, patriarchy. Like there is like the patriarchy and predatory behavior that walks alongside it or underneath it.
That sucks too, because she gives a good performance.
Actually, also they darkened her up a little bit. She's, as far as I can tell, white, but just, you know, colonial Jamaica. But they wanted her to be part Asian, which I didn't even get from the movie. But so they did darken her skin up a little bit.
Did you get that I didn't get it either until the second encounter, but did you get that what's her name lady?
Who's working for Dr. No, but is in disguise as the secretary at the government office.
Yes, is supposed to be Asian.
I was wondering that because she had the like Chinese dresses and all the Chinese decor.
Yeah, and then at one point she's like, "I'll make you a Chinese dinner," which is like, I guess he's just getting like. Actually, that has to be so good. Fuck, he's getting like jerk chow mein. He's getting General Tso's oxtail.
Yeah, this movie is weird because there's so many characters that logically should be just flatly black or Asian or something
that are like something else.
Yeah. Like even in the book, Dr. No is supposed to be like half German. And I guess there's things you can do with that are interesting. But it's also like it is strange, even for a movie from the early 60s, how they sort of, the black characters are largely in the background and they're mostly servants or subordinate or goons to white characters.
Yeah. On that note, though, I wanted to talk about Quarrel, who I kind of loved in this film. I think he's the closest this movie gets to a positive black figure, even though he's a raging alcoholic and he gets incinerated to death at one point.
At least he feels like a guy with his own motives.
Yeah, because you think he's going to be a bad guy. Like, he shows up and he tries to rob James Bond, but it's only because he's working for the CIA and he didn't know who James Bond was until they figure out that that's James Bond, and he thought James Bond was working for Dr. No. It's a great little reversal of the like typical the scene that's happened 3 times already in the movie, which is James Bond gets attacked by a sinister person of color who's working for Dr. No. And in this case, it's a sinister guy who's working for the Americans.
Yeah. And then it's very funny how immediately genial he gets with them afterwards.
He's great.
Like they're all just like, they just immediately go from trying to kill each other to like joking around.
They're riffing.
Yeah, I liked that actually.
He takes James Bond on all his excursions up until the point of his death. It's very tragic too, because they kind of foreshadow his death. He's like, I heard there's a dragon on the island. And of course, the dragon is actually what is that, like an APC that's been painted like a dragon and it has a flamethrower on the top?
It's like a shitty APC. I think it's just something they built on top of a car. It's Dr. No's island has a shitty APC that's kind of painted to sort of look like a dragon, and it's got a flamethrower on it. And all of the superstitious natives are like, there's a dragon on that island. But just the way it's like obviously just a car with a flamethrower, but it's like the superstitious natives all believe it's a dragon. It's like Scooby-Doo shit.
Yeah.
And it's like, I feel like anybody living in Jamaica would just know that it was a car with a flamethrower, probably.
I guess the idea is that like no one survived to know what it actually is. They just got a bunch of burnt corpses back and or like, oh.
I guess. I don't know. Just the idea of if it was like earlier in history and more remote than Jamaica and more convincingly looked like a dragon or something, maybe I'd let it slide. But that just felt like racist to me. Like these people are
a little bit.
These colonial primitives are so easily fooled.
A little bit. I did love that, like how shockingly real it gets for a moment, where they're trying to face it down with like fucking handguns, and then like Quarrel gets hit and he's just done. He's just cooked, and then like James Bond, he
just burns up.
James Bond's just like, well, I guess we should probably surrender.
Yeah, it is. They do lose the fight against the shitty tank. Because they're trying to like shoot out the spotlights or hit the driver as it slowly rolls towards them.
Yeah, and the driver just has a machine gun. It's like, dude, you're not gonna be able to face that down.
I don't know if the thing seems so slow and awkward. If you just like run around to the side of it where the machine gun could hit you.
That's true.
But that's my gamer brain. Maybe
they could have hit the glowing weak spot and done 10x damage.
The Quarrel is kind of like the most any of the side characters really comes alive, and it is kind of I think just a credit to the actor more than anything, and it's sort of too bad that more isn't done with that. Also, just like as another note to, I feel like just the kind of general racism of the movie, which again I think it's more than just being of the time. I think like Ian Fleming was a Tory fucking upper class guy. It's like the way even Bond, who's like kind of is friendly with him and seems sort of bad when he dies, is also just like, Coral, fetch my shoes when they're leaving the beach.
Yeah, that did suck. Yeah.
And I don't know, like, I'm not trying to be like the buzzkill downer guy about this sort of thing, but I think it's a bit above what was even, I think, because I've seen some old movies that weren't as bad for that.
I think you're right, and I think I think that even they might have been aware of it a little bit, because even the later Connery ones don't get this casually racist. Like, I'm watching From Russia with Love right now, and it mostly takes place in Eastern Europe. It's mostly just about, like, you know, Turkish people and Romani people, and it's pretty, like, there's like a Turkish sidekick who's a pretty competent spy, even gets a kill at one point. It did feel like they were like, ooh, wait a minute, maybe we can't really do this like kind of noble savage take on kind of the British colonies there.
Yeah, no, it's I imagine the more the movies go on, the more their identity becomes independent from books too.
I'd have to assume so. I don't know how many novels there are. I know most of the Connery movies are adapting the novels. I assume that after a certain point, like if GoldenEye was a novel, I would be surprised. But who knows? Maybe he wrote out like 30 of these bitches, and we're still doing novels or something. I know Casino Royale was a novel. It was kind of, I think that was infamously like one of the ones that like wasn't really touched by any of the other Bonds, because they were like, we don't really know how to make this work. And it turns out you just have him get hit in the balls a bunch by Mads Mikkelsen. But yeah, it does feel like they do move on from Fleming as they kind of quickly realize that, like, yeah, he's more of a hindrance than a helper here.
Have you ever read any of his books? I never have.
I haven't. No.
I don't know if I know anyone who's ever picked them up. They seem like they're probably like,
they probably suck.
Yeah, like they probably have that like whatever, you know, intuition he had for like being like easy, quickly paced reads. You know, like airport schlock of the time. They're really popular. Like they were huge before the movies got made. Like they were like, you know, JFK was talking about reading James Bond and stuff. Like the books, it wasn't like the books were like wildly successful in Britain and got plucked from obscurity to be a movie. They were a massive phenomenon. But, you know, lots of stuff that sucks becomes massive phenomenons in paperback. The sense I got from a bit of skimming, again, this is like a very light touch, not very in depth, was that, yeah, it's pretty trashy. Fleming was just like a guy that just sat down and banged stuff out without thinking too hard about it.
That tracks.
Which would explain some of the plotting in this movie, like how our main Bond girl just walks into the ocean at the start of the third act with no prior introduction or context.
Yeah, it's weird that she's the main one. It's like genuinely kind of strange that like she becomes the one who is like, yep, that's the, because normally, you know, your main Bond girl is the one that you spend the majority of the film with, or at least like a 2 full acts. And there's plenty of Bond movies that are good that have like multiple women, or have like you know, one woman and then a tertiary or a secondary woman. But like it's rare to have one where it's like you got like 7 and the Bond girl is honestly maybe the least interesting of all of those.
Yeah, no, like none of the female characters are particularly well developed. I think he has the best rapport with Moneypenny. The kind of frustrated, resentful way they flirt, because she's like, it's obvious like they must have I don't know, I guess what you call a situationship now. But she also knows he's out fucking all these other women. Yeah. And is sort of like wise to what he is. So she is willing to tease him and play off him in a way that's way more fun than just, oh, Mr. Bond.
She's giving him the runaround, which is great. Like she is kind of the closest thing to an equal that Bond has in these films, where it's like she is allowed to, you know, not immediately be charmed by Mr. Bond. She is like not immediately just like fuck me or whatever. Or if it is, it's like it's playful and there's like a hint of like jokingness with it. I kind of get why she becomes like the, standout kind of supporting character for this, because it's like M is also in this movie. It's like, who gives a shit about M? He's an exposition dump.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like Q is like, these fucking Q. No one cares about Q. But like Moneypenny, now there's a character.
Yeah, no, I mean, also she's got a reason to be there too. But yeah, that like as much as you only get like 1.5 little scenes of it, it's like there's a real dynamic there that's like just missing from all the other women in this movie. I mean, it's kind of fun. That's the woman he meets at playing cards, who he finds like wearing nothing but a button-up shirt in his apartment later.
Yeah,
that felt a little more like, oh, she's like really coming on to him. That's kind of fun, but that just, you get so little of that.
I don't know how HD your copy is, but it's funny that you can actually see the when they're showering later with honey, when they're going through the nuclear decontaminant, you can see the little flesh toned like one piece that she has on as like a modesty cover.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Yeah,
I did watch it in pretty high quality, but I think I just wasn't looking close enough.
You weren't looking
to see it.
Yeah, I was. I noticed that. I was like, oh, because for a second, like you could see like they kind of fuck up the towel handoff, like the extra like fucks up the towel handoff, and I was like, oh, is that titty? And I rewinded it. And I was like, no, it's they're wearing like these little like flesh tone strapless one pieces, which makes sense because you even back then there was a reasonable expectation that you would provide for your actresses and actresses safely, even though obviously, as we've discussed earlier in this episode, they did not really commit to doing that offset. But yeah, it was a kind of strange realization of like, oh yeah, they're just that's got to be really awkward for the actors. It's just like, okay, we're gonna put on our flesh tone, little speedos and pretend to take a bath.
Yeah, well, I mean, this was still the era too, a bit before you could have the Hays Code was still kind of in effect, and this movie was American co-financed and co-produced. If the main creative staff are all British.
The Broccoli's, right?
Yeah, and another guy who ended up splitting from the Broccoli's in the 70s. But it was like they got like their funding through United Artists, and MGM at some point got the rights or distributed it.
Now it's owned by Amazon.
Yeah, yay.
Which is funny because I think they just realized that there's like no way that they can do like a new take on James Bond in big 2026.
I'm sure in principle there is, but it's like I don't know what it is, and I don't know if it's anything Amazon would want or any big company would be willing to do.
No, you gotta
in some way be risky.
I think you gotta lean into the silliness of it all and do Grant Morrison's James Bond. You need the death traps and the giant lasers back.
I'd agree. Like it should be on. Maybe it's just because we went through such a long period where even stuff that was supposed to be over the top and sci-fi and goofy felt so unimaginative and restrained in so many ways. I would enjoy leaning into the camp of it, not necessarily overly winking and nodding stuff, because I also hate that, like, isn't this all so stupid and crazy? But just having fun with it.
Yeah, putting in actual like fun death traps and stuff again without calling to attention the fact that it doesn't exist in reality. I mean, they did a little bit in the later Craig films where he's like going up against like super weapons and shit, but even then it was all very like Mission Impossible. Yeah,
that was the thing where they started like that, the era of gritty and realistic, like it very quickly started to give way to things that were very silly and over the top, but just silly and over the top with a facade of gritty and realistic.
Exactly.
And then once they started even kind of letting that go, it just no one really, but it was like just the box shrunk for what you could actually do without having to have some very lame lamp shading, right? Like, again, there's fun, clever ways you can do lamp shading and sort of let the audience know that's like, okay, we know it's silly, come along with us, don't feel like we're insulting your intelligence, but you just have to be a lot more subtle about it and playful.
It's kind of fascinating that James Bond kind of skipped the MCU. Like, it's like the Craig stuff comes out like, you know, mostly in the early 2010s when the MCU is still kind of just beginning to take off, and then like skips the most of the back half of the 2010s just because like they couldn't put them out fast enough. Like they needed time to be able to, you know, get a script and find, you know, time to get with Daniel Craig or whatever. So it's interesting that they kind of skipped like being reactive to the MCU.
I think it's in part because they didn't, you know, those movies took so long to develop because nobody involved could agree on what they wanted those movies to be.
That's also
so they were
true.
Like slow to come out. Because no one knows like what to do with James Bond. Like, should you know, Mission Impossible? I mean, I don't know. I've seen bits of some of the later Mission Impossible movies. I find something in them kind of missing. Like they're more fun than an MCU movie, but like something feels too, like again, like they're too well oiled, too slick. There's a lack of texture. There's like a lack of texture, a lack of something. Like I caught part of that last one or second to last one on TV, and it was like every action scene was just so like stacking the threats and escalations in a way that felt so obviously engineered, you know, like just so kind of like not incompetent, but just like you could just so feel what they're doing. And it's always like, of course, that has to happen. Of course, he steps on the thing, then the thing has to break. Now this has to happen. It's like you feel it, right? It felt rote and excessive. Like, you know, I wasn't surprised by the turn of events, but I was just like, and then another thing will happen. And I just, you know, I don't know how to explain it, but it's nice to, there's a tendency towards like, you see this with melodrama too, where it's like, you know, there always has to be a misunderstanding and every character has have an affair with every other character. It has to be this like drama maximization. You have to like over tighten every nut or every screw on the drama machine to make sure there's the maximum tension between everybody, the maximum level of misunderstanding, the maximum stakes and distrust. And it just becomes simultaneously predictable and excessive in a way that is irritating to me and frustrating, where I feel like none of the characters could just act like people ever. And I sometimes see the same thing with like action set pieces where it doesn't have the same dramatic problems, but I just see the machinery working so clearly that I just completely lose interest. And it's like, couldn't we just do something else? You know, couldn't we pull back a bit and like have a more creative or textured or tense execution, but on like a simple set piece, right? And I guess that's what makes it like this movie's not that great, you know, even setting aside like it's like cultural, political elements. It's just like a fine Sunday afternoon watch if you're sort of into like, you know, the aesthetic, if you like the Technicolor 60s film look, which I really do. But it has that like it's not hyper escalating everything to the nth degree, right? Like the car chase doesn't have to become a motorcycle chase, doesn't have to become an airplane chase, doesn't have to become a guy jumping out with a parachute. Like it could just, some guys chase James Bond for a few minutes, he avoids them and they crash. And I kind of appreciate that we can spend a couple minutes, he goes into his room and he like puts a hair on the closet. And it's not a plot point, it's just we show him doing it because it's spy shit and it's cool. He puts some dust on the latches of his briefcase. And then when he comes back later, he checks that the hair is still there. He checks the briefcase and he like takes a sniff of an open bottle of whiskey and then takes out an unopened bottle because he's not going to drink something that might be poisoned. And none of it's like machinery for plot. It's just texture for like for living in the world of a spy.
Yeah.
And I love that shit. And it feels like so many movies now have no room for that because we have to make an action scene 40 minutes long where every possible thing that can happen happens. Sorry, that was a bit of a rant.
No, you're good.
I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Like, does that make sense?
I like the kind of like ratcheting tension ballet sometimes, but I know what you mean where it's like sometimes you just want a nice 6-minute action scene that resolves itself, you know, that like just plays out. You continue on with the film, and it doesn't overshadow the rest of the film or like take away resources from the rest of the film, because it's just a thing that happens. It's just another moment in the life of a character.
Yeah, it's also just it strains credulity when it's like too many things happen just so. But it strains credulity in a way that bores me because I can just imagine all of the meetings where they're, again, just maximizing the machine, right? Where it feels like it just feels so formulaic. It feels like product engineering at a certain point. You know, I mean, obviously there's like a degree, right? Like, you know, like you look at like an Indiana Jones set piece, which are like what all these things are building off of.
Yeah,
and like all those work great, but they don't overdo it. They don't put a hat on a hat, so to speak.
I agree. I think that there's a place for both to exist, but like also like I like that this film doesn't just like, yeah, it doesn't force you to be a part of that. It just is like, here's 90 minutes. It's a perfect little length of a film. It's got a great like just, yeah, here's 90 minutes with a character.
Yeah, and I mean James Bond as played by Sean Connery is cool. Like not cool in the sense where it's like morally awesome, but like vibes wise, like he's a charismatic actor giving a like if his whole reason James Bond became a series in this movie wasn't just like mildly profitable and forgotten, was I think the strength of Sean Connery's performance and I guess the popularity of the books.
It's weird. It's kind of funny that he died like 2 years after this. Like
Ian Fleming.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, like right before it really would have taken off, but you know, just he drank and smoked all the time.
I know,
lived like shit.
Like I guess what was the last one he was alive for? I guess he would have been the last one he would have been alive for was Goldfinger, maybe depending on what month he died in, because Goldfinger was released in September 1964.
Man, they really back to back, like year after year.
Yearly, right? Yeah. They did From Russia with Love in 1963. So that was the last one Kennedy would have been potentially alive for.
I hear it really blew his mind.
It really did. Actually, no. A month before he got capped. October 1963 was the premiere, and then full theatrical was in the 11th of October 1963 in UK, but April 8th, 1964 in America. So he was actually... he might have had to fly out to London to go see his favorite guy, James Bond, if he wanted to see it before it was time for him to die, which I assume he would have known about ahead of time.
Presumably, yeah, I would have known about the production. Yeah, it is sort of funny to just... It makes you wonder, like, what his books would have become. I mean, I know they had ghostwriters do them forever. Like the guy who wrote the novelization of Metal Gear Solid and who wrote the script for Darkseid 2, the famous sort of campy kind of bad mid-90s adventure game, was the official James Bond writer in the 90s and 2000s. They've kept putting those out, apparently. I don't know who's reading them.
That's crazy. I would love to be one of those guys. That's got to be like literally less than 100 people on the planet still being like, we got to check out the new James Bond.
Yeah, I know. That's got to be like kind of an interesting job. Like a weird thing to be. The guy who writes the James Bond novels for the people still reading them, when most people probably don't even know or remember that James Bond came from books. Who's your favorite Bond?
Ooh, that's a tough one, because I feel like in terms of just like performance, I got to go with Connery. But I do think that the best James Bond movie is Live and Let Die. That's a tough one. I think Craig's also pretty good.
What would you say are like the qualities of each? Like, how do they compare to each other? Good, bad, just like what's interesting about each of them?
Obviously Connery's got like, no one is more swagged out than Connery's Bond. He completely nails being the hottest man in the world, even though he's kind of busted. And he's not in great shape, especially after the first one of these. He is obviously balding. He's hairy as shit. He looks disgusting. I don't like it. I'm not into bears, but yeah, I think that like Connery nails the kind of the swag of the character. Was it Roger Moore was the one in
Roger Moore? Yeah,
is in the one in Live and Let Die. He is the best at like being a compelling kind of like real person in these kind of super spy narratives. Like he's not as realistic as like say Daniel Craig's James Bond, but he feels like a real person within the universe that these movies take place in.
Interesting. Okay.
And then who was it? Was Dalton after that?
Dalton, I think so. Unless there was like a one-off guy in the 60s I forgot about.
Dalton kind of sucks, if I'm being honest. Like, I like the Dalton films. I take it back. I like Man with the Golden Gun. I think it's fun, even though the movie kind of sucks. But Dalton just kind of blows. Brosnan, I think, is like a weird kind of hybrid of like more Connery and then like to a much lesser extent Dalton. Where he feels like the most like kind of like amalgamation of all of these characters into one person. Like kind of like I kind of get why his movies kind of just chugged along for a little bit, because he can sell the fact that it's like, I am the person James Bond made flesh, the brand.
Yeah, he doesn't feel like a real guy at all, but he's incredibly charismatic and fun to watch.
Exactly. And then who's it? Craig is the best at I think he's good in those films. His character's weird to me. I think he's like the most physical of the James Bonds, but I'm mostly just picturing the scene where he gets hit in the nuts a bunch in Casino Royale. Where it's just like, yeah, like I don't think any of the other characters would ever let themselves do that as James Bond.
Well, that's the weird thing where they're trying to bring him down to earth and humanize him, and which is like, I'm ambivalent about that idea, but it's in part, I think if I thought the movies are more successful and consistent, I think feel better.
Yeah, it's like, I think it works in the movies of those that are good. Like, it's like, I think that like it works in Skyfall and in Casino Royale because those are good movies, but then like, I mean, Spectre is kind of a weird, just disjointed mess, and all of the other films are after that, and also Quantum of Solace are just genuinely bad. Spectre's weird where...
Yeah, God, I saw Quantum of Solace in theaters. I just thought it sucked.
Quantum of Solace
I barely remember anything about it other than just... I can't remember nothing about it other than thinking, I can't tell what's going on in the action scenes, and I fucking hate this.
Quantum of Solace is so bad. Spectre's weird where like I think it just needed another go. It just needed another pass where it's like it's not conceptually a bad thing, and I kind of like the way that they introduce Christoph Waltz as Blofeld, but it never quite comes together outside of like very brief moments of Christoph Waltz hammering it up, and that's just because Christoph Waltz is great.
Yeah, I mean him, Javier. Mads, like really strong villain casting,
really
whether or not the script manages to use them effectively.
Yes. I don't even know who it's Rami Malek in the last one, isn't it?
Oh, I think it might be. Yeah. Wouldn't it be weird if that movie was actually really good, but just no one saw it?
No one saw it. Release? Yeah.
And just as James Bond was sort of out of the cultural conversation after Skyfall, I feel like.
Yeah, I need to definitely check that out at some point. This is also one of our only James Bond films without a theme, so I guess we'll have to stay tuned for theme discussion. It has an intro.
I noticed that it's got a title sequence, as movies tended to, because you put the credits mostly first. But yeah, there's not a theme. There's not an elaborate, bespoke, sort of quasi musical title sequence like the later ones have. Also interesting. I noticed, you get this movie does have the classic, like looking down the gun barrel shot that all these movies open with, it, which is really cool. He's wearing a fedora or a bowler hat in it.
Yeah, it's like a hat.
That caught me off guard. I guess that's like we're still just getting out of the 50s, and it's like guys go everywhere in hats.
Yeah,
type era.
It is a great fucking title card, I will say. Like the way it just like knocks itself off kilter on the beat of the gunshot. It kills every time. I get that like has become so overplayed now, but I adore the.
I think it's a cool way to open a movie, and I think it's cool to make it a little motif. That's the thing. Same with the theme song, right? You sit down for a James Bond movie, you get your gun barrel, intro, you get your theme song, and you're just like, I'm ready, I'm in, and I'm gonna have a good time.
I will say there are a lot of shitty James Bond movies where the theme just fucking kills. Like, I think that there are James Bond movies where I will bump up like a half star if there's a good theme in it. And the rest of the movie is bad.
Oh, I meant like just that bit of the like classic James Bond theme.
Oh yeah,
which is in this movie, the dun dun dun, which is a great little bit of music. Little bit of music. There's a reason you keep that around. But yeah, no, I do like that it becomes I don't know when. Does it start with From Russia with Love? I haven't seen it in so long.
It starts with Goldfinger. It starts with, because From Russia with Love also doesn't have one. It has the same kind of like intro where they're doing a projection on a dancer. But Goldfinger is where you get that's the black woman era, where it's like, we got a black woman and she's just going to tell you about the movie while singing. And it kills every time. And then like, I think after the Connery ones is when they start switching it up and letting other types of musicians do it. I mean,
Paul McCartney.
Live and Let Die is the best James Bond. Okay, actually, can I rant a little bit about Live and Let Die before we wrap up here?
Go for it.
Dude, Live and Let Die, not only the best James Bond movie, best James Bond intro. When the skull shows up, dude, it kills. It's so Venture Bros. I love it. I recently got to see him in concert. And it was actually a very funny story. I like turned to Emily, who I was with, and I was like, I kind of hope that we get to hear Live and Let Die. And they were like, he doesn't really play that much anymore. Like, and he probably would have played it by now. And the set's kind of wrapping up, so he's probably going to play something slow. And then immediately after that, he plays Live and Let Die, and they set off a shitload of fireworks and like started projecting the Bond intro onto the wall behind him on the like amphitheater, and it was so sick. He fucking
that rules.
Brought the house down. And
it is a good song. I wasn't trying to shit talk Paul McCartney. No, it was just from like,
it is a weird
black kind of soul like singers with the big pipes to a Paul McCartney. It was just like a funny.
It is a weird pick because that was the first like kind of pop music one. Where it's like before it was like we're gonna get like beautiful black women lounge singers. I guess Tom Jones big before. I don't know anything about Tom Jones as a person other than
I have no idea.
The TF2 fans really like him. But I do like Thunderball. Thunderball is a bad movie that I rank a little bit higher just because the fucking Thunderball intro is insane.
Yeah, I don't know the Thunderball one, but I know like I'm looking at the ones I grew up with, and it's like when they really, I don't know, somewhere it looks like in the 80s where they really start leaning on like kind of big names.
Yeah.
Sheena Easton, Duran Duran, Aha. Yeah, like Goldeneye, Tina Turner.
I forgot Sheena Easton did one.
Sheryl Crow did Tomorrow Never Dies, which I completely forgot about.
That's a good one.
Garbage did The World Is Not Enough.
The Living Day, actually A View to a Kill is great. A View to a Kill, bad movie, great James Bond intro.
I have heard that song. That's not a bad song.
That one goes. The Craig ones are kind of all bad except for Skyfall,
Skyfall's pretty good.
Skyfall's pretty good, dude. Adele, one of our greatest big bitches of all time. Actually, she's not even a bitch. She's a woman of large size. She is. Who is no longer large because they dropped those Ozempic, and she kind of fell off. But Skyfall was the one that like that was huge. I remember being a kid and hearing that shit on the radio and being like, oh, I gotta get that on my iPod. Like I gotta get the James Bond intro, fucking Skyfall on my iPod. It was pretty sick. It was a great little piece of music there. And then I think the next one after that, because that was a big gap, was. I don't even remember who did Spectre, but I think Billie Eilish did
Sam Smith.
Oh, that's right. Apparently. Yeah, that one. I think the problem was that I remember now. The problem was that Skyfall was a mega hit, and so the next two after that were just trying to do Skyfall again. So like Sam Smith, who's a good singer. No hate against Sam Smith. He's very talented. They are very talented, but. not a great James Bond theme. The Billie Eilish one is a little better, but it's still, you can tell that there's just like, they got a note. They're like, we need another Skyfall. And now there's no James Bond.
I do wonder what'll happen to James Bond as a figure now. If they'll try and bring him back, what they'll do, because it seems like such a weird fit for our day and age. I mean, it was already straining, I think, in the Craig era to fit in the world.
Maybe the video game,
even like Pierce Brosnan.
Maybe the video game will push people back into being into James Bond.
We'll see. I think you just got to make a good James Bond movie. It's just like, what does that look like now? Like even like Pierce, like GoldenEye is very much like fall of the Soviet Union, and also like that movie's is metatextually about like where does James Bond fit in without the Cold War. But then after that, they just have like a series of just insane supervillains, which maybe is just the way to do it. But
what if it was Paula Cole? Where have all the James Bonds gone?
I just wanted to say, on the note of James Bonds, I haven't seen a Roger Moore one or Timothy Dalton. What I like about Connery's is, in addition to just having that insane Sean Connery screen presence that he just innately has, he's just icy. Like when it's like he's all charming and suave, and then when the guns come out, it's like, oh, I believe this guy would kill a dude. Like he's got some real edge to him. They really knocked it out of the park with the first one. I think that was kind of their problem for a little bit, is they're like, fuck, we need another Connery. And like every time it went wrong, they were like, fuck, we need another Connery. That's why you got like a lot of the Dalton stuff feels like it's trying to be Connery again. Even like the later Pierce Brosnan stuff where it gets a little crazy and you got like, flying cars and on the ice and Holly Berry or whatever. That felt a little Connery. Whereas with Craig, what I think they got right was they were like, okay, we need a new direction. And they immediately fucked it up, like second movie kind of. But I think that one was a fluke. I think that they just wrong energy for a James Bond movie, which is, I don't think that was the fault of any of the people in it. I mean, fuck, you had Eva Green. I think they were looking at Bourne.
Yeah, I think they were looking at Bourne.
And I think, here's the thing, when you have a situation like that, instead of looking at Bourne and saying, let's be like Bourne, you look at Bourne and you say, okay, Bourne's already giving people this. What is Bourne not giving them that we can do?
100%.
And that's the problem with trend chasing. Is you give people a worse version of what they already have instead of finding the niche that's not being served.
They already made another Jason Bourne movie. It's called The Book of Henry, and we don't need another one. We just need James Bond to be uniquely itself. But,
oh God, dude! What if they give Colin Trevorrow James Bond?
Oh, do we want to watch something too?
I don't have one. No, just before we sign off, I wanted to talk about Honey Rider.
Oh, okay.
Who just appears out of the surf, like the is that the Venus de Milo on the shell?
I don't remember.
But yeah, she just walks, and it's like that famous moment. She's in the white bikini. She just walks out of the surf collecting conch shells on evil bad guy island for no reason, with no prior setup in the movie.
She was doing a hot girl shit,
I guess. But just, I don't know, something about it, just something dropping with that character randomly into the movie like that to be his love interest and the woman he has to rescue. And
it is weird.
And she has like the weirdest backstory.
Yeah, where she was like molested.
Yeah, her dad died and she was raped, and she killed her rapist with a scorpion.
Yeah. And she just says odd shit all the time. Like, she's just like, have you ever seen two insects making love? And it's like, no, I'm a normal human being. I've never fucking seen that shit. Like, what the fuck, lady?
She's a weird character. She's supposed to be, I think, something like not a native girl stereotype, but akin to that, where it's like she's worldly and very and uninhibited by modern civilizational standards, but then also is like has no formal education and has read half the dictionary or half the encyclopedia. She says, "I've read up to T."
God, I forgot about that.
So she's like uninhibited and sexy and worldly, but also like naive and girlish. It's a very specific, weird fantasy woman type.
Yeah, that was everything about her was just a little fucking weird.
It's very weird. And she's bad.
She is, yeah.
Like, it's a bad performance. Although she's dubbed too. Ursula Andress, the Swiss model who played her, who had a bit of a career through the 60s and 70s, was dubbed over for that movie. So I don't know how much of that's totally on her. Also, I don't know what actor. I mean, there's actors that would be more sexy and just have better charisma, but I don't know if anyone could really make that character not strange and ridiculous.
Yeah, she is. She just never feels like she's in the same movie as the rest of the characters.
Not for a minute. It's
a weird choice. You wonder, I kind of wonder if she had more of a to do in the novel. We'll have to check that out.
I skimmed the Wikipedia. Let me see. Also, Honey Rider. Yeah, the goofy names are there from the beginning too. I wasn't sure if they like appeared later or not. Let me see. I'm just skimming the Wikipedia here. Oh, in the book, she I don't know if she literally walks out of the ocean, but she meets him on the beach on evil Dr. No Island out of nowhere and tells him that her dream is to go to New York City to be a call girl.
Huh.
Yeah, no, I think that's just Ian Fleming drunk and maybe with syphilis or whatever, just making shit up as he goes and not really worrying about it. And just being, he just got to a certain point in the book. I need another beautiful woman in this book.
That's a very like drunk guy kind of thing to do.
Yeah. Oh, something else too from the book. I skimmed this earlier. The sequence where where Bond breaks out of his jail cell and crawls through the vents and it's like hot and he gets flooded. It's like a little like kind of endurance segment. In the book, that is like Dr. No is like a sadist, explicitly a sadist. And that's like an obstacle course of suffering he's engineered for James Bond that ends with him having to fight an octopus hand to hand or a giant squid.
Oh, that's sick. That is awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that is the energy James Bond needs in the modern era, is if you're going to have him, is to just have fun with it. Just get silly with it.
I agree.
And have a blast. And have, just no realistic geopolitics. Just there's a madman with a fucking laser or something. He's got a mech.
Yeah. Oh, dude, James Bond fighting a mech guy.
That's kind of just Metal Gear, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit, actually.
Snake's a very different character.
Snake doesn't really
a pensive stoic.
Yeah, Snake doesn't really interface with luxury in the way James Bond does. So I think that's one way.
Yeah, he crawls around in the mud full time.
Yeah,
actually, yeah. I mean, fuck it. I mean, they'll never make that Metal Gear movie, but like, putting a little dose of Metal Gear into a James Bond movie is not the worst idea. That actually would be a lot of fun.
That would be, if you got weird with it and like created like a unique kind of world for James Bond to exist in, I think would be a fun way of doing that, instead of just being like, well, it's our world, but there's just, there's a bad guy who's kind of weird.
That might not be a bad idea. Like, again, that's sort of like getting a little Venture Brothers with it, but just less, not intentionally like spoofy, where it's just like, what is the world where all this stuff exists, right? Like, yeah. So maybe like a parallel universe where the Cold War never ended.
Oh,
the Soviet Union's still. I get Archer kind of does this like atemporal thing. You never really know what year it is. The technology's sort of all over the place. I mean, there's an element now where it's like retrofuturism might be a bit of a trap. I'd kind of like to see futurism.
I agree.
It might be a good jumping off point to be like, parallel universe, or still Soviet Union. And that creates a bit of a remove where you can kind of accept like all the silly James Bond stuff. And you can have like, you could maybe smuggle, if you're like me, assuming such a person exists who could get a job making James Bond movies, you could maybe smuggle some like more interesting political satire or something in there through that parallel universe setting where like the money guys aren't gonna notice. If you wanted to, like, not too on the nose, but
Grant Morrison's James Bond, dude. Let's do it.
Like, yeah, fuck it, man. You might be right. Grant Morrison's James Bond. That might be the move.
I think that's our only way out.
That, or we just come up with a new guy. We can always just come up with a new guy.
Honestly, it is quite possible that James Bond just dies. And honestly, I'd be okay with that. It's not a character that I'm particularly attached to. Obviously,
in the sense of like needing more.
Yeah,
you mean.
Obviously, I'm on board for the James Bond game where you shoot Lenny Kravitz. That's definitely going to be like a buy on sale kind of game for me. I'm not going to pay $70 for the James Bond.
I'm curious. I'm curious how much Hitman they'll put in it.
It looks like a lot from what I'm seeing.
But yeah, I don't know. It might be good to just come up with a new guy. You can do James Bond influenced stuff, but just come up with a new character and a new set of circumstances that fits our time better and frees you from the baggage, frees you from the have like, oh, is it Sean Connery or is it Pierce? Like you don't have to have that thing franchises do where they start. I feel like they like start to struggle under the weight of their own tropes and lore and canon and expectations
and existence.
It's like like they kind of get conceptually inbred because you can't help but become self-referential at a certain point. So it might, Indiana Jones exists in part because they never let Spielberg make a James Bond movie. So
I'd be curious
if we should come up with.
Go ahead.
I say we should come up with a new guy, a spy guy.
Actually, speaking of James Bond influencing the wider canon, have you read League of Extraordinary Gentlemen?
Yes.
They do some pretty fun stuff with Bond in that.
Yeah, they do.
They do.
You can see how careful they are to get around the
name,
the rights issues there.
It's weird that James Bond isn't public domain yet, but probably only a few more years.
Characters like that should be like the public domain should be like, I don't know, 20 years or something.
It should, yeah,
at most. Especially stuff that's just like when it's kind of that buried deep in all of our collective consciousness. I feel like it belongs to all of us.
Yeah, if the James Bond, it's been like almost 100 fucking years of this shit probably. They probably had James Bond. I mean, I actually don't know when.
Like 52 when that first book's published. So 70.
Yeah, 70. That's good enough.
Yeah,
you had a good run. Give it to the people, or just make your own. And I do think that like it's been interesting to see how James Bond has influenced like the wider British canon, because it isn't something that you can really ignore. Like it is like kind of the British like MCU almost.
Kind of, yeah. It's very. I feel like it's like an early example of a film franchise as we think of it. Like it's not the MCU was like way more serialized, and none of these movies are all standalone, as they should be. I think.
Yeah,
but like it is. I know there were like popular characters that would get cheap movies made that would come out periodically about them that were kind of like a step above serials. There's like Charlie Chan movies and stuff. But
oh man, we should do those on the podcast.
But I don't know if like James Bond feels like definitely a step towards the franchise blockbuster landscape.
I agree.
And it's interesting. And I think like with Batman, like those long running characters, especially when if they're very episodic and kind of are free to change form, like it is interesting whether or not you like any individual variation to track how they mutate over time.
It is, yeah,
and respond to what's going on around them.
There's an evolution and a reactiveness to it that corresponds with like what people were feeling. Like people complain about like the colonialist attitudes of this film, but it's like that's what Britain was at the time. Like this is a film about kind of unrest in the colonies to a certain extent.
It's all of like so much of James Bond, although I feel like as the movie series goes on, maybe that starts to fade away a bit because I think it just becomes more in the hands of Hollywood and less distinctly British.
Yeah.
Except aesthetically. But it like the character and in the books are all written in the 50s and maybe like the last couple published posthumously the very early 60s they're about, I think, I'm assuming, I haven't read them, but like the character James Bond is very much like a post-imperial character. Like Britain is like its empire after like India gains independence right after World War II. And that's like the thing that really makes the British Empire big. That's all that wealth and manpower they can extract from there. And the rest just kind of falls away into the 50s and 60s because they can't hang on to it. And James Bond is like, it's just like, we're still cool. We're still important. We're still influential. Maybe we can't muster huge armies, and maybe the Royal Navy doesn't rule the waves anymore, but we're smart, we're schemers, we're the spider at the center of the web, with the Americans doing the grunt work for us. We've got James Bond who can go and bail the Americans out with his charm and ingenuity and wit and classiness, even if we can't field a fleet of super carriers.
Yeah, even though we got cooked in every war. Yeah,
even though we are, by the 70s, just a rainy little island with a smaller population than Germany, we're still important. We're still special. We're still, in some way, the center of the world. And we still matter because we've got James Bond.
Now they don't even have that anymore. That's Jeff Bezos. We took that back.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know exactly where, but somewhere along there, like, I think maybe by Brosnan, like, James Bond is like, the character is British and the actors are British, but it's like pretty American, those movies, I feel like, at that point. This movie, like, there's a distinct, like, handsome, sort of slightly stodgy Britishness to this movie.
We took everything from them, dude. We took their colony. We took their, institutional pedophilia. We took...
Oh my God, no. Another thing I forgot just while skimming about the book and Ian Fleming and as a guy. Where did I put that? I posted it in the group chat.
Was he doing buggering?
No, I mean, he's like an Eton guy, right? Upper class, went to all those private schools, so probably. But there is a quote here where in the book he describes Honey Rider as having buttocks like a boy.
Oh man, is that because like having a small ass was the move back then?
Here's a quote from a guy named Noel Coward, who was like a playwright and writer, who was his friend.
His name was not
from the time.
His name was not Noel Coward.
Noel Coward, yep.
Good Lord.
I was also slightly shocked by the lascivious announcement that Honeychild's bottom was like a boy's. I know we're all becoming more broad-minded nowadays, but really, old chap, what could you have been thinking of? So, I don't think it's just saying it was nice and small.
Damn.
There have been something to that.
That's crazy.
All right. Do you have anything else?
Poor Honey. No, I don't have anything else. Do we have anything we need to plug? Again, sorry about watching The Gray Man, but you got a better spy movie out of it, a much better spy movie out of it.
Oh yeah, no, this is, like I said, it's a not the most exciting film, but it's an easy watch, and it's just it's like nice and it's leisurely in a good way. It's like a nice stroll.
It's barely 90 minutes. It's the most fun you'll have watching a British man in Jamaica ever.
Yeah, no, it was fun to go back and just see how many of the tropes are kind of fully formed from day one. How, like, all those things I knew through parody and reference, the sending the spider into his room to kill him. And
we talked about this off screen, but that was totally inspiration for in episode 2 when they send the centipede to kill Padme.
In the book, it's a centipede.
And then, you found out in the book it's a centipede, which I loved. That made my day.
Yeah, and like the control room, the evil villain control room with all the computers, they all have labels on them, and it's kind of like a half notch below,
like Batman 66.
Yeah, which I got a big kick out of.
I do wish they need to bring back labeling shit. They need to make like a label maker you can buy that makes those like metallic like sans serif like labels that they had in those.
I think you just get like a CNC machine.
I guess
just make those.
You get a CNC. I need to label all of my shit.
A consensual non-consent machine. Yeah. That's what they call James Bond.
Oh fuck. That's a good one. That should be the name of the episode. Actually, hold on. Hold on. CNC Music Factory.
That'll be one. Yeah, you'll be listening to this wondering, what the hell does that mean? And only now will it come together at the end of the episode.
Yeah, literally right before the finish line here.
All right. Is there anything else you wanted to touch on before we?
No, I don't think so. Do you have anything you need to plug, shout out?
No. I mean, I think this is going up on the main feed, right?
I think so. It's to make up for the Gray Man. Yeah.
Yeah. Just we felt kind of bad about the Gray. We at least weren't happy with how the Gray Man came out. Nicole's pretty busy this weekend.
Yeah.
We'll be doing our Patreon ep tomorrow. But yeah, just wanted to do something different.
We're doing a double record tomorrow, actually.
Get so much content for you guys.
I know. You guys are getting a full course Thanksgiving meal with all the extra chitlins.
The chitlins.
Yeah. I've never had chitlins.
I don't know what that is.
I think it's like guts. I think it's
the extra.
Yeah, it's hog intestines.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, just like I said, not a lot of prep time, just a kind of loose, fun episode. Hope it goes down smooth.
Do we have a name for this sub-series? But yeah.
James Bond chat. I don't know.
I like James Bond chat.
We'll think of something.
Yeah.
Oh, do you remember at the beginning, like where M makes it's like your Beretta is wimpy. Take this Walther. And he's like, I don't want the Walther.
Yeah. And now you're the more of the gun nerd than I. Is that true?
I have no idea.
I don't know the caliber of either of those pistols.
The Walther's a 7.62 millimeter.
That's a pretty big caliber.
Big-ish for a little gun like that. I don't know what his Beretta would have been if it would have been weaker. I just thought it was funny that like the iconic James Bond gun is like something his boss makes him use.
Yeah,
that he's like resents,
so he can hit a quota of not having agents dead in the field.
Yeah. He's worried about the safety numbers.
Oh man,
that's kind of funny.
Great bit, honestly.
No Q. When does Q show up?
Next one.
Oh, nice. I haven't seen that in a long time. Yeah, I'm looking forward to doing that again. I'm looking forward to doing the rest of these. It's going to be fun. Thank you so much for listening. MarvelousDeath.com is our website.
That's right. We have a website now. We have a web zone.
Patreon.com/MarvelousDeath will take you right to the Patreon if you'd like to get our exclusive episodes or just want to kick us a few bucks because you like the show. We super appreciate it. Makes a big difference.
We do. All of you are going to Valhalla in the Patreon, and all the people that didn't.
You're all going to Jamaica.
Yeah, you're going to Jamaica, and all the people that didn't, you're going to Crab Island, Crab Bay.
You're going to Britain.
You're going to Britain. Yeah, you don't even get to go and be an island boy.
You have to live in Keir Starmer's England.
Do you know about that? Do you know about the Island Boys?
The Island Boys? No,
the Island Boys. They're like SoundCloud wigs that got famous, and then I think like at one point when the money started drying up, they just started doing gay porn with each other, which is like a really funny like way to do that. Yeah,
the Desert Island Boys.
Oh man,
you see that a lot. Someone gets famous for something, the money starts drying up, and it's like, well, I could get naked.
Oh, okay. Apparently, are they actually twin brothers? What the fuck?
They wouldn't be. Every twin porn is fake, right?
Dude, I don't know.
Dude, these guys look weird.
Yeah. I'm a top, never a bottom. Island Boy's fly soldier comes out as gay weeks after kissing his brother. And that'll do us, folks.
I feel like I'm in like a Clive Barker movie or something where you just like glimpse hell. All right, what a great way to end the episode. And by the way, there's these two failed rappers who have gay brother sex. Dun 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 dun. All right.
Bye.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Evil is his one and only name. Evil, in his mind there is no other game.
Boys' night!
Shout out to Jim.
Hi, Jim.
Shout out to Jim.
Hi, Jim.